Hey guys, I'm Naomi. I'm the owner and CEO of Picnik in Austin, Texas, and I'm super excited to partner with OmStars next summer to bring you a bunch of great recipes that really cater to the paleo and vegan diet. What I'm gonna make for you today is a perfect classic Indian chai using coconut milk and maple syrup. Let's get started. What you need for this recipe is 6 whole cinnamon sticks, 6 star anise, about a heaping tablespoon of black peppercorns, green cardamom pods, a whole head of fresh ginger, about a cup of full fat coconut milk, and 4 ounces or half a cup of organic maple syrup. I also have 4 black tea bags, a cheese grater, a stock pot that can hold at least a quart of water, and inside this stock pot I'm gonna have a cheesecloth, and what this is gonna be used for is straining the chai and making this a one-pot dish. So the first step is I'm gonna take this cheesecloth and kind of lay it over the side of my stock pot. I'm gonna start with the cinnamon sticks, and one tool that I have that I love for this recipe is a pair of pliers. And what this is gonna do is help me break up these cinnamon sticks. So I just break these up with a pair of pliers. You could also use a pair of scissors, or you could throw them in whole if you don't really have time or the tools necessary. This one's really big. We're just gonna throw this one in whole. The next step is we're gonna take this giant head of ginger and we're gonna grate it directly into the stock pot. Now, you can just eyeball this. Again, like I said, it's roughly 1 large head of ginger, but you can also measure. And if you're using measurements, it's about 1 kind of heaping cup of ginger. So I already prepared one right here for you. So this is just my favorite trick. I think it makes such a flavorful chai and it brings out a ton of spice. The next step is we're gonna take all of these beautiful spices and we're gonna put them in a coffee grinder. So at home, I use a coffee grinder every morning when I make French presses, but I also use it to kind of break up my spices. I already have this prepped over here. And if you can see, it's just thrown in there the same way you would do full coffee beans. And you just turn it on. I don't want to break up the spices too much because you don't want to turn the black peppercorn into really fine black pepper because it's going to turn your chai a little muddy. So you just kind of want to pulse it until everything is broken up nicely. I'm going to throw these directly into my stock pot. So from there, I'm going to throw this on the stove with a quart of water. And we're gonna bring it to a boil. One thing that you're gonna wanna note if you have a cheesecloth that's kind of draped over the side of your pot is just to keep an eye out on the bottom of your stove, because if you're working with flames, it could potentially catch on fire. So go ahead and take the cheesecloth and just tighten it up. And you can throw that whole thing in there. And what we're gonna be looking for is this whole thing to come to kind of a rolling boil. So it's been about 15 minutes and I wanted to show you what the chai looks like right now. As you can see, the water is boiling and it's starting to foam a little bit around the edges. What we're gonna do at this point is we're gonna turn it down to low and let the chai simmer for the next 15 minutes. One thing I neglected to mention earlier is I actually opted for a nut milk bag, but a cheesecloth works exactly the same way. It just might not have this string at the top that kind of seals it together. So if you're using cheesecloth, you can just seal it with a twine or rubber band or something like that. Just keep the rubber band out of the tea. So I'm gonna remove this cheesecloth from the steeping liquid and I'm gonna throw in these 4 black tea bags and we're gonna let this sit for the next 5 minutes. So I'm going to remove these tea bags now from the pot. I'm gonna use coconut milk and maple syrup, but if you're someone who loves organic whole milk, you could use that instead. Play around, make it your own, but this is a great base to customize from. So now is the best part of this recipe. I'm gonna add all this coconut milk. Again, we started with about 8 ounces, and then 4 ounces or half a cup of maple syrup. Gosh, it's so pretty and delicious. It's so good. I'm double dipping. I like to turn it up a little bit at this point just so that the whole recipe comes together and everything is nice and hot for when you serve it. There's gonna be some oil droplets if you're using canned coconut milk, but the secret to making this a really creamy beverage would be to take a hand blender and just kind of give it a quick whiz, and it creates something that's like a really creamy texture, very similar to a latte. Otherwise, it's ready to serve. So all you're gonna do is pour it into a cup, and it's ready to enjoy. So thank you so much for watching. We're really excited to offer this recipe for you. And try it at home, let me know what you think, and cheers. Super good.